Hi, I'm Dr. R.G. Allen Wilson. You may recognize me as a leading relationship expert for TV programs such as CNN, The Today Show, Good Day Philly, Fox 29, Tamron Hall Show, Mel Robbins Show, and local and national radio shows, just to name a few. I want to invite you to a very awesome opportunity that will enhance your life. Having courageous conversations that connect is key for a healthy relationship with ourselves and others. Knowing the right strategies and techniques aren't as simple as we think. There are principles to understanding how we all think and feel. Right now, you can join in my free quarantine talks to learn what others spend thousands of dollars in therapy to know. Each day, while we are in quarantine at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can watch, listen, and learn tips that will help you get through this challenging time in our lives. Here's the good news. There is absolutely no cost for you to participate. Tune in on YouTube, Facebook, and the Gram at Ask Dr. RG. I look forward to seeing you join our crew. And that's connecting relationships for epic wins. Have a beautiful day on purpose. From my heart to yours. And good morning. Welcome. This is Dr. RG. This is the Courageous Conversations Connect Space Quarantine Talks. Today is August 31st, 2020. Believe it or not. Welcome, crew. Welcome. IG family, thank you for joining. Facebook family, thank you for joining. YouTube family, thank you for joining. This is our 75th episode. Believe it or not, 75th episode. Wow. And we are in our 24th week since this all began. Since Morgan and I, in the very beginning, probably mid-March, decided that we wanted to have a community give back. We wanted to be able to connect with people who were experiencing some of the same things that we were experiencing, whether that be trauma or shock or grief of the life that we once knew, or just trying to worry about what was going to happen. We knew that we were sort of figuring out things and struggling, and we wanted to create a crew that had a safe space to process that. So here we are. One day from September 1st, believe it or not, we're moving into fall. And this week, we're talking about a pathway forward. How do we move forward? And specifically today, we're talking about something that I was talking about years ago, but I thought it was appropriate to talk about this week. How do we move into a space, a pathway forward, where we are fearless, focused, and free? Fearless, not fearless, but fearless, where we fear less. And when we start making sure that we are focused on whatever it is that we need to be focused on, and we're going to talk about all that today, and free, right? So good morning, Debbie. I see Debbie Pearson's on. I see Jenna's on. I see Charlotte. Welcome to the show. Thank you. Make sure that you're going over to YouTube, or let your friends know that we have a YouTube page. It's at Ask Dr. RG, AskDrArgie. Subscribe to our YouTube page, hit that notification bell so that you get notifications of whenever we're going to come on or whatever content we have. And just stay with us. Tag a friend, share this video, let people know that we're here. This is our crew, connecting relationships for epic wins. If y'all notice, just bear with me. I had a cold that I caught maybe last week. I don't know how, since I don't go anywhere. And this weekend, I spent probably the better part of the weekend in bed trying to nurse this cold. So it's a little bit better. Morgan's taking really good care of me. And so, you know, if I'm a little nasally, please forgive me. Hey, BJ, thanks for joining. So listen, as we do, we're going to do our breathing exercise. So think about who you're breathing for and with, and we're going to take a quick break from our sponsors, and we will be right back. So stay with us. And this is yours truly, RG. Dr. RG here for the Courageous Conversations Connect Space Quarantine Talks. So welcome again. I see several people. China, hey China, good morning. Thanks for joining. Again, thank you, our IG family, for hanging in. I know that sometimes you can't see all the things that are going on the Facebook page or the YouTube page, but you continue to join us as well anyway. And so we appreciate you. We appreciate our YouTube family and our Facebook family. Who are you breathing for and with? As we unpack this conversation today about a pathway forward, there's a lot going on, right? There's a lot going on in the world, and we need to sort of figure out how we move forward. You know, pretty much in every conversation that we have, we're going to talk about voting. We can't not talk about that. We have one of the most important elections coming up of our lifetime on November 3rd, and we have to vote by any means necessary. Jen says, love, love, love the breathing exercises. That gets me through the day. Many thanks, Doc. Thank you. Thank God for you. Thank you, Jen. The breathing exercises are important, as I'm having difficulty breathing kind of right now because of this cold that I have. Think about the people that are much worse off than me. I actually, guys, did go and, take a COVID test just in case, because I had over the weekend, starting probably on Thursday, I had a little low-grade fever. I had a really bad sore throat. I had a headache. And then my nose started running. So I was like 4 symptoms that they do say sometimes come along with the COVID-19, the virus, the coronavirus. And so I went and got tested, and praise be to God, the test came back negative. So I do not have COVID-19, but I am going to be breathing for everyone who does. I'm going to be breathing specifically also for a family of the Taylor Memorial Church who is today saying goodbye and having a homegoing celebration for a family member who has passed away due to COVID-19. So I'm praying for that family. I'm praying for the entire Taylor Memorial family. G. Lamar Stewart is a really good friend of Morgan, and I call him my little brother, and he's doing a wonderful job leading. He's been on the show. He'll be back on the show again. And so I'm praying for the entire and breathing for the entire Taylor Memorial family, as well as our good friend G. Lamar Stewart, who is out there trying to create community engagement and doing a yeoman's job of in a really, really difficult time with regards to community policing and trying to create community engagement. So I'm breathing for him as well. And I am breathing. You all tell me who you're breathing for. I'm breathing for the most recent killing that we know of by police officers, the family of Jacob Blake. We've seen his mother and father and sister go on air talking about their son. And we learned over the weekend that the police had his son leg cuffed, chained, had his foot chained to the bed when the man is paralyzed. I mean, how brutal do you get when you are chaining someone to a bed that is paralyzed? So I'm praying for his recovery as well. BJ said, I had a young family member who was murdered over the weekend. Oh my goodness, BJ. I'm so sorry to hear that. I did not know. So we're praying for BJ's family. She's a part of our crew, Connecting Family Relationships for Epic Wins. So she had a family member that was murdered over the weekend. Jen says peppermint works for migraines, and Sempuscus, which is an elderberry, very good for colds, as well as thanks God for the testis negative. I thought about the elderberry. Maybe I will try that. A lot of people say that that's really good. We're trying to do things for our health as well. Deborah's breathing for pastors who keep us lifted in the word each week. Absolutely. We got to be praying and breathing for our clergy that are out there, for, as I said, our good friend G. Lamar Stewart, as well as our Pastor Morgan and our pastor, Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller, and many other pastors out there that are keeping us lifted. And I would say clergy in general. So that is persons who are in whatever their faith is, and that they are leading and lifting their parishioners in such troubling times. We need to continue to breathe for them. All right, so let's get into our posture, guys. Put your middle finger on your thumb, one hand over the next, on your lap or to your sides. Try to get your back straight if you can, so you can just relax a little bit. Jen says she's breathing for the 17-year-old that hung himself in Barbados. My friend who I visit knew her. She was very depressed. Oh my goodness. Definitely prayers up for that family. Breathing for the parents who are dealing with anxiety of school starting back today. Gotcha. So we're breathing for those parents. Lots and lots of anxiety for the parents and the students of school when schools are starting back. We know that the rates of COVID-19 diagnoses are elevating due to that. So we're praying for those families as well. All right. So at the sound of my voice, I'm going to count to 3. We're going to breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. We're going to hold it for 8 seconds. And we're going to release through our mouth. So we're breathing in oxygen and we're breathing out carbon dioxide, but we're also breathing in. I want you all to do this throughout the week or throughout the day. We're breathing in hope and love and peace and serenity and calm. And then we're breathing out worry and fear and frustration and anxiety and anger and resentment. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One last time, crew, make it count. Oxygen in, breathe in. And breathe out. Very good. That felt really good. Breathing that oxygen in, breathing that carbon dioxide out, along with all those good emotions of calm and peace and serenity, and breathing out fear and worry and anxiety. Debbie says, praying for all families who have lost loved ones and who have gone through violence. Right. We're saying no to the violence as well. So, let's just talk, crew. I got my t-shirt on. Shout out to Deanna Murray. You see my t-shirt, it says Prayer Warrior. These were created by Deanna Murray, who is a wonderful graphic designer, does all of our graphic design, all of the logos, the logo on this book. She designed the book cover. She's done the logos for our businesses, Connections Matter and Faith Connects Inc., Faith Connects LLC, and she's just amazing. And so she does these t-shirts, and I decided that I was going to wear the Prayer Warrior t-shirt because I do believe that prayer is an essential part of our pathway forward, right? And so I'm asking all of us as a part of the crew to think about, if we're going to get through this, if we're actually going to grow through this to the other side of this pandemic, between two I guess collision between two pandemics, right? COVID-19 and systemic racism. And we're in the middle of multiple crises. We are in the middle of crises. We are in a state of emergency. There's the economic crises where people are dealing with food insecurities and job insecurities. There is the racial crises, the racial unrest that is causing fractions to impact one another. Oftentimes, many peaceful protesters out there. They say over 200,000 protesters have hit the streets since George Floyd. And yet simultaneously, we have fractions of other people that are engaging in violence, like what happened in Kenosha and what happened in Portland, Oregon. So the racial crises that's going on, the educational crises of parents sending their kids back to college or daycare, whichever way you look at it, it's still a crisis because these parents don't know what's going to happen to their children, right? And if you chose the online avenue, then that's scary as well, because you don't know if your children are going to get the education that they are deserving. We know the teachers are in crises, right? Because they're trying to adapt to a whole new platform while simultaneously having to take care of their own children. So, and then we've got the health crises going on, right? That is impacting both from a physical standpoint and a mental health standpoint, because we're all deserving of good physical, medical health and good mental health. And yet oftentimes we're not getting services, and the services certainly are not as accessible to Black and brown and poor people. And so we are a nation in crises. So then how do you move forward? We've got, in terms of what's trending, I hear that Temple University and some of the other schools in the Philadelphia area are going to all online. Temple has had in the last week over 100 cases of people, their young people, their students coming down with the virus. The University of Alabama, now over 1,200 cases. So they are shutting things down, and that's only since they've been open in the last 10 days. And so we've got college campuses, we've got schools, we've got daycares, we've got elementary education, we've got high schools. Everybody is reeling because these viruses are not going away. There was a term that was coined, super spreaders, right? Super spreaders. What does that mean? Super spreaders meaning asymptomatic people who don't even know that they have this virus, but they're spreading it nevertheless. People say, what's the big deal? Most of these young people are going to be asymptomatic and they're not even going to come down with any of the symptoms, but then they can pass it on to other people unbeknownst to them. We're also blaming young people for partying, and that's kind of what they do outside of, going to school to study. They want to hang out with each other. That's a part of their culture. And so you send them back to school and say, stay in your room and only, just study. That's just not a good model, if you will. So the pathway forward, I see, Deanna's on. Deanna, you see, I got your t-shirt on today. So thank you for joining. Welcome to the show. Jacqueline Mitchell is on. Thank you for joining. So I wanted to ask this question to our crew. What is your pathway forward? My pathway forward, absolutely, unequivocally, is through prayer. That is what grounds me. That is my foundation. I absolutely believe, like Mahatma Gandhi, we must be the change we wish to see in others. And in order to do that, though, for me, my pathway is to go vertical. It is to go up to a source that is greater than me. And as I do that, I petition, and this is just for me, I petition to God to help me to have the spirit of discernment, help me to figure it out. Help me to connect with other like-minded people. Help me to engage my crew, right? Our crew. It's not just mine, our crew. Connecting relationships for epic wins and a pathway forward to a win, for victory, and whatever that looks like. We're not in the midst of these two pandemics for ourselves. I ultimately believe that there is a greater good that will come of this, that there is a silver lining that will come from all of this pain. And as I said in the very beginning of these quarantine talks, we can turn pain into power if we appreciate the process. And once we appreciate that process, then we can walk in our purpose. But we got to embrace it. And so today, what is your fearless? What are you fearing less of? As we have a pathway forward, tell me in the chat. First, what's your pathway forward? What is one thing that you believe that you can do that will help you to grow through this and come out on the other side better, not bitter? We're coming to the other side of this. We absolutely will, because nothing stands still. Everything is always evolving and moving forward. So since the things are evolving and moving forward, the question is, what will you look like at the end of this journey when we get through to the other side? And so give me one thing in the chat that you're actually doing to help yourself move forward and not stay stagnant or paralyzed, because we can get paralyzed by fear, right? And so then the next step is, as you say, the one thing that's going to help you to move forward at your pathway forward, right? Then what is one thing that you can fear less of? I'm not saying be fearless. Most of us aren't fearless, right? We've got worry and concerns and anxiety. That's why we do our breathing exercises. But is there anything that you can fear less of, right? What's one thing you can fear less of? And then one thing that you can focus on, and one thing that you can move forward to being free of. That is the goal, to fear less so that we can focus more on what we can concentrate on, and then what we can free ourselves of. That makes sense, guys? And so this is our pathway forward. For me, it's prayer. You can choose to use that as well. As far as fearing less of, I choose to fear less of my own anxiety, because I have anxiety just like anybody else. And I know where it wells up in me. And so when I get anxiety, I start thinking about, okay, what is it that's causing this anxiety? And how can I fear less of it so that I can refocus my energies? Then I focus on who can I help? That helps me, quite frankly. Me helping other people actually helps me, because then I can focus on them. So I focus on helping people in their lives, right? Our motto at Faith Inc. is helping people, or helping people to transform their lives through courageous conversations, right? And so who can I help? And then the freedom comes with, for me, and this is what I'm focusing on voting. I feel that we will be freer. I will be freer if we vote November 3rd and we win. And I can't tell anybody who to vote for. I can only vote. I have one vote, and I know who I'm casting my vote for. But the reality of it is, it's a collective energy, all moving forward to November 3rd to vote your conscience with what you want for your community, what you want for yourself, what would you want for your family. Jen says she's reading Jesus Calling, and a cup of chamomile tea really helps her. Awesome. I love Jesus Calling. In fact, I have two of them in my bookshelf right now, and by, I think, the Sarah Young. So she really helps. Y'all tell me, what's your pathway forward? What is it that's going to help you? You know that we have had the shooting that we saw on video in Kenosha. We then, a few days later, had 2 people shot and 1 injured in, I believe, Illinois. I forget where that is. Y'all help me out. Tell me where exactly that is that the 17-year-old brandishing a weapon killed 2 people, allegedly, but we saw the video, right? And injured 1, out of which, you know, he got to walk free and then turned himself in. We know that doesn't happen for Black people. And then yesterday, there was shooting, someone shot in Portland, Oregon, due to some rallies. Interesting enough, one of the rallies was called Patriot Prayer, I believe is the rally. And there's a lot of political underpinning that is stoking the flames here. What we want to do is calm the flames. Debbie said, my pathway forward is to connect with others and try to listen for their heart and listen from the mind. I love it. Because remember last week, thank you, Debbie, for that. Last week, we talked about matters of the heart, I think on Wednesday. And I asked people to search their heart, examine their heart. You know, only we can do that. We understand that the racial unrest now is impacting all of us. And we've got to do better as a collective. And if we don't, then sometimes that may be on our watch. Deanna says prayer and the very act of focus keeps me pressing forward. We can get distracted by the things that we can't control, but I know I'm on task under God, so I have to stay the course. I love that. I love that. And so she says a couple things, Deanna. First, prayer and the focus, as we talked about, fearing less, focus, and then free. And then focusing, quite frankly, and I like that, Deanna, on the things that we can control versus the things that we can't. That's basically what the serenity prayer says, is all about. It says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? And so what does that really mean? Like that sometimes we flip the script and we're focusing on the things that we can't control versus the things that we can control, right? And it takes a lot of courage to focus, you change your energy, right? The serenity, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't control, and the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. My bonus daughter's on. Hey, bonus daughter, love you. Grand rising bonus mom. Grand bonus. Oh, thank you, bonus daughter. I love you. And Jace, we haven't seen each other in a bit, so I miss you and I love you. Thank you for joining. Charla says, it definitely is. What is, I'm thinking about what she said, grand rising bonus mom. I love that, grand rising, like, rising up. And I think we all need to rise up. But let's be honest, it can be very discouraging and very dark when we turn on the news and all we see is people killing each other and people yelling at each other. I had the news on, I had CNN on most of the weekend and but was doing some other things and pretty much trying to nurse this cold nurse myself back to health along with my husband. I had the TV turned down and I was looking at the protest and the expressions on people's faces, and everybody looked so distressed. We all are in such distress and it's impacting us. It's not freeing us. Deborah says, the hatred in people's hearts has me anxious and their public display of it. Exactly, Deborah. Exactly. And how do we change that? We are not in control of anyone else, right? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We can't change anybody else. We can examine our hearts, and then we individually and then collectively, which I'm engaging in our crew and our IG family and our Facebook family, and our YouTube family, to think about collectively, how do we move forward? What is our pathway forward? How do we create change in the system that is us? It is us, right? We do have some control over our words, over our actions, over our deeds, over our hearts. What is in your heart that would allow you, even quite frankly, if you've got a protest and you've got a thought, you've got an opinion that's not stated necessarily in facts, but just in perception, certainly if you choose to share that, the question is, how do you choose to share it? Do you choose to share it in a kind and generous and caring and loving way? Because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Or do you care, or do you choose to spew venom and ugliness with your words and actions, right? We always say as a part of the crew, are we helping to harm or healing the hurt? Are we helping to harm or healing the hurt? Jen says, love that saying. I have to hang it in my room, she says. Jessica says, is that a book? It might be. It might be. I'm working on several projects right now, Morgan and I. So fearless, focused, and free. Fearless, focused, and free. So I'd be remiss if I did not share a little bit of why this is so important to me in terms of the pathway forward and what I was processing this weekend. So simultaneously, we know that Chadwick Boseman passed away, who played in the T'Challa in King T'Challa in Black Panther. He also played Jackie Robinson. He played James Brown. He had quite a few notable roles. He also was my HU partner, alumni, right? He graduated from Howard University. And there's a wonderful story of him saying that he couldn't afford to be in college and that Felicia Rashad called up Denzel Washington and said, hey, there's a kid that can't afford this. He's in the School of Arts And will you sponsor him? And then he got a check from Denzel Washington. So years later, he goes up to Denzel Washington and he says, hey, you, in an award ceremony or something, he said, you paid for me to go to school. And Denzel said, yeah, that's why I'm here. You owe me money. And it was just kind of funny. But I thought about that, like how many of us pay it forward by helping somebody that we don't know, by making a decision, not because we're given to the people that we feel like we're supposed to give to, but that we make a decision to level up on humanity and give to somebody else, right? So that's something I thought about in terms of Chadwick Boseman's passing at the young age of 42 due to colon cancer. By the way, get your screenings. Get your screenings, guys. They changed the protocol where Black people now their baseline to get their colon screenings, their colonoscopies are at 45. I want to give a shout out to Morgan and our doctor, Dr. Blake. He's right there on Germantown Avenue. He has a phenomenal practice where you actually can get a spa, what do they call it? Cleansing the day of your colonoscopy. And then you get the colonoscopy the same day. It's quick, no major pain involved. He is a stellar professional. And it was me. Morgan's coming on, so I'm sorry she has something to share about this. So I'm going to give him.
No, it's real quick. I just wanted to add, make sure that you remember. I just wanted to add to make sure that you remember. You got to unmute yourself when you do that. Okay, you good. Remember now, we got people from all over the world watching. So Dr. Blake got to explain that's a Philadelphia guy. So just wanted to add that he's from Philadelphia. But you need to check a gastroenterologist. Is that what he is? That's what he is, right? Correct?
No. Yes, he's a gastroenterologist. Yes.
Right. Correct. Just find a good one in your area to make sure that you have regular checkups and that you do a colonoscopy on a regular basis. Got to make sure you take care of your health. Yes, that's what's important.
Morgan. So Chadwick Boseman, he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer 4 years ago in 2016.
Yeah, and then
this is what I thought was phenomenal about this. Nobody in his crew shared his personal business for 4 years.
And the time,
not his barber, not his accountant, not the directors, not the people that he worked with. He filmed like 3 movies during that time, along with going through chemotherapy, going through surgery for the colon cancer. It did end up coming back and moving into stage 4 cancer. Right. But the other thing that I thought was heart-wrenching was that I read some posts over the weekend where they said that he was, I like your t-shirt, Morgan.
Inkwell.
The Inkwell. No, they said over the weekend, or I read a post where people were saying when he was talking about the film 42, where he filmed it for in honor of Jackie Robinson, that they were calling him, the crack king, and they were saying because he lost so much weight, maybe he was on drugs. And I feel like that's a lesson for us to like, you don't know what people are going through. You don't understand what their story is. And it's some people's business is not our personal business. He was handling it himself with his community with regards to an illness, and yet many people jump to conclusion. And this is what I mean about being ugly and nasty and putting horrible things out there in the universe. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are about both that nobody in his crew shared his business, and to also about getting your screenings early. And if you feel like sharing, if you feel comfortable sharing what that process was, why you got the colonoscopy in the first place, and what they found. It's up to you.
Well, you put it out there. So obviously, everybody found something.
I think it's going to help people.
No big deal. I had one polyp, and it was diagnosed. I have diverticulitis. Didn't feel anything major, nothing out of the ordinary, but early detection. So that's what she means by colon cancer can be not prevented, but can be avoided. I mean, if you just get tested early enough and they get those polyps early enough, it won't evolve and grow into something, and then changing your diet, making sure that you're eating good fruits and vegetables and cutting out sugar. Listen, we've been doing a deep dive over the last four or 5 days. It's been a progress for me. I've always had this desire to improve my health, to improve our health, and to try to eat healthy. That's why I cook a whole lot, to make sure I cook with good ingredients, and I cook with with health in mind, and what I put into our bodies to help us be here and to live a better life while we're here. The bottom line is early detection is important. Okay, keeping that stuff, sugar. I mean, sugar is an absolute killer to us, in reference to us and our bodies. I mean, we have to get rid of it. Sugar comes in many forms. Sugar, I mean, I don't want to get too deep with it, because you can go down a serious rabbit hole. But fructose is like poison. It's poison.
And gluten.
What fructose and gluten can be found in so many things that we may not even really be aware of, that's killing us. It's hard. You really got to read those labels. And I want to probably do a segment on that at some point in the next couple of weeks or so, about some information we found about fructose. And it just really isn't everything. I mean, you just be surprised what it's in. I'll leave it at that, because I can go down a rabbit hole with that.
So I also wanted to ask you about your process, which was because I think this is really good for men. Men tend not to go to the doctor as much, in particular Black people, because I think that there's a level of cultural mistrust anyway of doctors. I think, or I've seen that you care about your health, but that's not the first thing that you think about. And you going to Dr. Blake was based on me urging you to do it.
Okay, so let me.
I just said to you this weekend, I'm so glad that you were able to hear me on that, because you did have that polyp and you did have diverticulitis, which you did not know before. So, and so you've gone twice, right? We've gone twice.
Yes.
To get our colonoscopies.
Yes.
And, as Jessica said, my bonus daughter, our daughter, the number of colon and rectal cancer is up in people under 50, right? Which is why they detect.
Can I just chime in? So I think part of it is,
diet.
All of it is diet. And let me just get back to
and history too, because it's up for Black people. So there's a predisposed nature of, I think, from our history as well. That's all I'm saying.
So all right. So it goes with your theme: fearless, focused, and free. Right. Well, men, they have this fear of the doctors. People have fear of the unknown. Oh, I don't know if I want to know. But I don't know. I mean, you can't be so racked with fear. And as I put up, fear and faith can never reside in the same place. So, if you have a level of faith, you got to exercise that faith and go in and know. There's a whole thing that we do through our church, Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church. It's Know Your Numbers campaign for men, specifically for men to know their numbers. And it's important to know your numbers and know it early enough so you can do all things that you can do to prevent something that, if you just go and get it tested, get tested early enough, can be preventable. Part of it in this stuff is people just won't go in and get tested, won't go in and know their numbers, and specifically men have a hard time with that. Colon cancer, rectal cancer can be prevented if you have early detection. My thing is, you have to find a good doctor that specializes in this, a gastroenterologist who's very, very good at it. There's all kind of things. Dr. Blake is phenomenal. He has this whole program where you don't even have to take the prep. That's another barrier, is the process of it all sometimes can be a barrier for a lot of people, because that prep is nasty. You got to take it 24 to 40 hours before you go, and you're taking and drinking this stuff, and you eliminating so much. With Dr. Blake's system, he has this phenomenal system where basically you just can't eat anything within 24 hours of your solid thing, within 24 hours of the colonoscopy. And it's the system he has that cleans you out right before it. And so it's a process. Colon cleanse, correct. Colon cleanse. And it's somewhat uncomfortable, but I wouldn't characterize it as painful. you know, and comfort level is just a matter of, you know, where you are and what your tolerance is, you know, from discomfort to you know, maybe, you know, I don't know what you would call it, but whatever your level is of discomfort, if you will, moderate to small to whatever.
The nice thing is
But,
he has a spa in the back.
right, so it's
Very
very much a spa.
peaceful,
And I
nice
know we're giving him
music.
a promo. I got to call him to make sure he's a sponsor on the show, because we're giving him a promo. But really, it's to pass out the word. So go in, whoever is in your area, find one to get the work done. And early detection is important. Early detection is important. That's really that's the primary thing. So.
Yeah, yeah. Debbie says she thought that it was beautiful that his community, talking about Chadwell, held his business, and that they let Chadwell continue to live and shine up until his last days. So much respect for him and his loved ones, and it inspires me to go on and do all I can do every single day that I have. Excellent. Hold on. Sorry, guys. So, yeah. So what are you doing? What are we doing? This whole idea of fearless, focused, and free. Here's a guy who had stage 3 colon cancer and was still filming, you know, major films to leave a legacy. You know, it teaches us that tomorrow is not promised to any of us, right? So you have two options. You can either count every day or make every day count. The choice is yours. Listen, when we come back, we're going to take a quick break from our sponsors. And when we come back, I really want to dig into how we create a pathway forward in the midst of all this chaos, because we can still do this. People have storms, but storms are either meant to correct us, constrict us, or connect us, right? And the choice is yours, how you use it. Let's come back, talk about it, unpack it, and have a courageous conversation. Stay with us. And welcome, guys. Thank you for hanging in there with us. This is Dr. RG here, yours truly. We're here with the Courageous Conversations Connect Space Quarantine Talks. Yeah, April 31st. April 31st. Who knew? Who knew in March? In the very beginning, when we were hearing stories of a ship where people had a virus, and we were hearing stories about people in China and Italy, who knew that we would be here in this moment, right? Who knew that when we saw that viral video, first of Ahmaud Arbery, then Breonna Taylor, people didn't hear so much because there was no video attached to it. And then there was George Floyd. And then there was Rayshon Brooks. And then there was Jacob Blake, and on and on and on. And I have to say that we have to figure out how we create a pathway forward for us, for ourselves, for our families. I want to read this excerpt to you guys, see what your thoughts are about it. It comes from Courageous Conversations Connect. And it says, have you ever considered the fact, this is week 22, considered the fact that most of us don't like the C word. I call the C word change, right? But some people call the C word cancer as well, since we're talking about colon cancer. But then there are also prostate cancer and breast cancer. There are many other forms of cancer. It's very difficult cancers. Yet in order to be healthy, we all must learn to adapt to change, especially in our relationships. Changing roles in our relationships can sometimes be overwhelming and difficult. First, we must accept the fact that there will be times in our lives where we must all learn how to adapt to new norms. The new norms may impose role changes in our relationships that we did not anticipate. Acceptance is the first step in the process of change. So what do you think about that? Acceptance. Acceptance is the first step in the process of change. a pathway forward doesn't mean stay stuck in the past. We need to understand our past. We need to understand what's happened. We need to know our history. But how do you move forward if you can't if you can't get past, or you can't accept what has happened in the past and own it, honor it, understand it, and then begin to process where are you at now and where are you going? Where are we going and how are we going? This thing is going to be over one day. It is a marathon, not a sprint, but it's going to be over one day. And the question is, as long as you stay healthy, you'll grow through this too. But what will that look like? I've heard some people say we need a reset. Reset your mindset first. What does that look like? Are you, as Morgan says, often stuck on stupid? Can you not move forward? Or are you able to say, like, okay, maybe I do need to reset my mindset. Maybe I do need to listen to someone else. Maybe I do need to understand my history and how it's impacted me so that I can create my own pathway forward. Jessica says, yep, but doctors don't recommend colonoscopies unless you are certain or within the age that they say you should get one. She says, for my age range, it's easier to go unnoticed. Absolutely, Jessica, you're right. You're right, correction, she said. Here's what I know about that. We all must be our own advocates. And oftentimes, because Black people and brown people tend to follow, as Dr. Marlene Watson would say, the Black shadow. We tend to adhere to our own Black shadow, this idea that the doctor knows best. So we just kind of go along with what they say. And sometimes you have to trust your body more than anything else. If your body is telling you major things are going on with your gastrointestinal system, right? You know, when things are not moving as smoothly as they need to be moving, you literally could have a bowel blockage and not know it, because it's not normal, quite frankly, to not have your bowels moving smoothly through your intestinal system and coming out smoothly. So if you're, straining, and, when you're going to the bathroom and you're not really having what, Morgan might say is quality poops, right? If you're not doing that, then that's a problem. And so you need to advocate for yourself. And for younger people like Jessica that are in your 30s and the baseline is now 45, the problem is if the screenings say 45, that's when you need to get a screening or you need to get a test or colonoscopy, then push the system. Push the system and say, no matter what my age, if I've got some health insurance, I'm owed the responsibility of my health care practitioners to listen to me and to learn about what's going on with me and my body, and then to educate me about what the next steps are to help me to be as healthy as possible. You literally can ask for it, and you can push your doctor to create a case for why it is that they need to petition your insurance company to give you this test. And it could be your history, especially if you have some kind of cancer. And by the way, cancers are sometimes connected. So I now know that, because my sister had both breast cancer and she had uterine cancer and breast cancer. That allowed me to have specific tests and an MRI and a ultrasound for my breast. So I don't every year just get the regular mammogram. I get an ultrasound and an MRI, not because I've had cancer, but because my sister has had cancer. So what is that for you? Does the cancer run in your family? Are there other health conditions that run in your family? What do you need to do to not be so fearful? We started this conversation out by us saying, hey, what do we need to do to be fearless, focused, and free? And I also said that I was going to share with you something that had occurred over the weekend. So I will share that with you. On yesterday, which was August 30th, it was the second anniversary of one of my very dearest friends passing away. She passed away in the hospital. She had worked that day, and she felt badly. She had been feeling badly for a couple of months from the time that she passed away, transitioned. And really, it was a matter of her pushing the system. And in essence, the system did not really respond because people tend not to listen to Black and Brown people as much as they should, right? Our own medical professionals don't always listen to us, even when we're saying that we're not feeling well. And so my friend Monique Purnell Pfeiffer, who was not feeling well for several months, ended up going to work, not feeling well, and leaving her job, even though she didn't have to be there. And she, her friend called my bestie, Kim Dantzler, and said, "Hey, Monique is not, she's not feeling well. She's on her way home, but I can't get in touch with her." So that's the story. And so I won't go into more of that, but that early in the evening, she ended up passing away. And what I would say is that she is the gift that keeps on giving because she reminds me every day that I have to push the system. She reminds me every day, Monique, that I have to be my own advocate. She reminds me every day that I'm not going to take no for an answer when I go to the doctor's office and they say, "Oh, it's okay." I believe that I have the right to have every test that anybody else has in order to see what's going on because preventative medicine and these screenings will save lives. And so, it happened to be that on August 30th, I was sending a post out to honor my friend Monique, simultaneously while I was sending a post out to honor my friend Kim, who also had a birthday yesterday. And that 2 years ago, it was the collision of so many things on that day. My auntie, who was my mother's youngest sister, was in the hospital, and we were getting news that it was a possibility that she might not make it. She ended up living for several more months in hospice at home in the comfort of our own home and then died on December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. But it was a lot going on. And what I would say is that, again, I want to go back to this. I want to go back to being a prayer warrior, having people pray that in the midst of all of those storms, that the prayers of the righteous availeth much. And just Morgan and I being prayerful, Morgan and I praying and petitioning that God would continue to kind of heal our crew, heal our system, heal our family, and that we would continue to use ourselves and our voices and be transparent and authentic in order to help other people, to free them ultimately. But in order to do that, then we need to be fearless. We need to fear less and then focus. As Jean Austen Jefferson says, fear and faith can never reside in the same space. And so, I share these stories or share this story of authenticity with you to say, like, what's your story? How are you utilizing your story to create a pathway forward? Because tomorrow is not promised to any of us, right? And, there are no do-overs, right? There is no other life. This is it. There are no rehearsals. This is our life. This is your life. What will you make of it? What will you do with it? Who are you at the end of most people's journey? If they know that they're transitioning, like my Aunt May, like my mom, if they are here and they know that their end is coming soon, most people won't say they wish they made more money or they wish they did more things. Sometimes they're just saying, like, did I do what I came here to do? Who am I? Whose am I? What have I done? And what did I leave on the table for someone else to take that leg of the race? And are you leaving a legacy? Are you leaving people who connected with you better off just because they knew you? Debbie says, I would have died within just a few months if I had not gone to check out a skin thickening and a couple of random strange symptoms. I had have stage 3 inflammatory breast cancer. Oh my goodness. And had 2 clear mammograms, but my doctor pushed for an ultrasound. By that time, it was my lymph nodes. By 6 weeks from the first symptoms, one breast was 2 times the size of the other, and I was starting chemo. I will celebrate 5 years from the diagnosis this Halloween. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Debbie. Thank you for sharing that. And we're going to continue to keep you lifted up with regards to that, because you help us to understand that you got to listen to your body, right? You're talking about just some random strange symptoms like, a thickening of skin, right? And that turns out to be stage 3 inflammatory breast cancer. So we got to listen to our bodies, guys. Our bodies will tell the story. And when we don't listen to our bodies, oftentimes our bodies will continue to grow out of control. Jen says, prayers up for Debbie. That's a blessing. This is what this crew is all about. And, I want us to continue to have these conversations. We can only do that if you all let other people know that we're on this platform. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on IG. We're at Ask Dr. RG. If you go onto our platform at YouTube, the platform speaks for itself. We have good content there in terms of all kinds of issues that we're having. We believe in transforming lives, families, one relationship at a time, and also transforming lives, one courageous conversation at a time, right? Which means that, we need to be having these courageous conversations. We need to be helping each other by understanding that it's in our transparency that we actually move towards a level of healing. Jen says we need to get checked up from the neck up, right? Your health is extremely important. Don't wait it out. Absolutely. And our health is our wealth. Our health is our wealth. And anything can happen. Listen to, guys, we're humans. We are made up of cells, right? And all the cells don't necessarily always function the way that they should. And by the way, a lot of how we move forward, talking about a pathway forward, has to do with diet, as Morgan said earlier, has to do with exercise, has to do with stress. What are we putting into our bodies, both physically and emotionally? And are we moving our bodies? Our bodies require us to attend to them. And there are many things, because we do have modern technology that will help us these days. But as we've learned with COVID-19, that the medical field is a practice for a reason. It's practicing out things. It's experimenting on things. And when you have a novel virus, you don't just know what's going to happen as we are learning, And when I think about what we're all going through, how we're dealing with the stressors in life, first pray, of course, in my mind, we pray. And then we think about who are the people that can actually help us. Now, I know this is maybe a little bit, not radical, but new to some people. But I do believe that God puts us in each other's lives for reasons, and sometimes a season, sometimes a lifetime. And I also think that from a spiritual perspective, you can have your spiritual conviction and you can have your theoretical conviction. And here's where I say therapy matters. Get yourself a therapist. It doesn't have to be me. However, you're interested in therapy, you certainly can reach out to us at Faith Connects LLC. You can reach out to us through the phone, 215-789-6999. You can contact us at contact us at connectionsmatterllc.com. If we can't support you, we may be able to refer you to other resources that can be helpful to you. And why suffer in silence? This crew has been an amazing blessing to Morgan and I, because as much as we believe that we are blessed to be a blessing, we also believe that the blessing comes back to us. And so when you think about that, think about how you could help someone if you are healthy. That's what therapy is all about. It's about processing your emotional pain and your injury and your trauma, getting to the root of it, right? And so that you can use that experience to then ultimately be a blessing to somebody else. But you can't put a Band-Aid on a gunshot, right? You have to actually go to the root of your issues, and the therapeutic intervention or the coaching can help you to do that, so that you begin to unpack what has happened to you in your life and begin to create a pathway forward to the other side. I believe that love, light, truth, and accountability, well, that brings us to hope and freedom. And this is about freedom matters. We all want to be free. Jen says this Wednesday she starts her physical therapy session to get muscles, muscles and body back in shape. Must say that this is truly feels like a vacation to her. Many thanks to our crew and Mama RG for all the love and prayers. Prayers of continue to you, Jen. I'm glad that you're doing your physical therapies, and hopefully you'll be back to whatever your norm would be as well. And Dr. Gail says, good morning, Dr. RG. I agree. We need to take care of our bodies in stressful situations. Makes us more vulnerable to disorders because it becomes persistent and chronic. Absolutely. Stress kills. Not only do we need to get a checkup from the neck up, so doing our mental health, but also a checkup from the neck down and all things in between. And if we are under enormous amounts of stress, that can absolutely kill us. Our cortisol levels go up, our adrenaline levels go up, oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin go down. And then we are in a fight, and then we're not fit for the fight, as Morgan says. Well, we're going to take a quick break from our sponsors and we'll be right back. So stay with us.
Hi, I'm Dr. R.G. Allen Wilson. You may recognize me as a leading relationship expert for TV programs such as CNN, The Today Show, Good Day Philly, Fox 29, Terman Hall Show, Mel Robbins Show, and local and national radio shows, just to name a few. I want to invite you to a very awesome opportunity that will enhance your life. Having courageous conversations that connect is key for a healthy relationship with ourselves and others. Knowing the right strategies and techniques aren't as simple as we think. There are principles to understanding how we all think and feel. Right now, you can join in my free quarantine talks to learn what others spend thousands of dollars in therapy to know. Each day, while we are in quarantine at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can watch, listen, and learn tips that will help you get through this challenging time in our lives. Here's the good news. There is absolutely no cost for you to participate. Tune in on YouTube, Facebook, and the Gram at Ask Dr. RG. I look forward to seeing you join our crew. And that's connecting relationships for epic wins. Have a beautiful day on purpose. From my heart to yours.
All right, guys. So that's about it for today. Listen, again, we know that we are in trying times. We know what's going on in the world, whether it's Kenosha, whether you're in Portland, Oregon, whether you're in Philadelphia, whether you're in, urban area or suburban area or rural areas. We believe that there is a pathway forward. And so, again, we're going to be talking about how do we move forward in a healthy way? How do we begin the process or continue the process of living our best lives, even in the midst of 2 pandemics? And then how do we make sure that we are better on the other side of this? And so I thank you again for joining us on our Courageous Conversations Connect Space Quarantine Talks. Listen, I love you. If no one else told you that, I'm telling you this morning, I love you. There is nothing that you can do about it. And have a beautiful day on purpose from my heart to yours.